What if I told you that one thing you said to your child this morning, something completely normal, something every parent says, actually made them less likely to listen to you? Not because you're a bad parent, but because nobody told you the truth about how a child's brain actually works. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to share 5 things I would never do as a child psychologist. Things that most loving, caring, well-meaning parents do every single day without realizing the damage it quietly causes. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. I'm a child psychologist. I've spent over a decade sitting with children, really sitting with them, at their level, listening to what they cannot say out loud. And I've sat with thousands of parents too, exhausted, confused, doing their absolute best, wondering why nothing seems to work. And here's what I want you to know before we go any further. You are not failing your child. You are just using tools you were handed to your parents and their parents before them. Tools that science now tells us are quietly working against the connection you're trying to build. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you 3 practical, science-backed shifts. Not theories, not textbook language, real changes you can make starting today, changes that will make your child want to listen to you, want to come to you, and want to behave. Not because they're afraid, but because they feel safe. But first, the 5 things. Let's go. Before I give you number 1, I need you to do something. I need you to think back to this morning or last night, or the last time your child had a meltdown, refused to listen, or did something that completely pushed your buttons. Got that moment? Hold it in your mind. Now, raise your hand if, in that moment, you raised your voice, even just a little. It's okay. Keep your hand up. I'm not judging you, I promise. Now, keep your hand up if, right after that moment, you felt a little guilty, like a small ache in your chest, like, I didn't want to do that. That guilt, that ache, that is your instinct telling you that something isn't working, and today, we're going to listen to it. Write this in the comments right now, just one word. Write the word that describes how you feel after a hard moment with your child. Exhausted, guilty, lost, confused, angry? Whatever it is, write it. You'll see that you are not alone, not even close. Okay, let's talk about the first thing I would never do. Thing number 1, I would never say, "Stop crying, you're fine." I know, it sounds harmless. It sounds comforting even. But here's what's actually happening inside your child's brain when you say that. Imagine your child's emotions are like a balloon. Every feeling, frustration, sadness, fear, that's air going into the balloon. When you say, "Stop crying, you're fine," you're not letting the air out. You're just squeezing the balloon shut. And what happens to a balloon you keep squeezing? It either pops, that's the explosive meltdown you weren't expecting, or it gets so tight that it becomes rigid, and your child learns to stop feeling altogether. And a child who stops feeling doesn't become easier to manage, they become harder to reach. The science here is clear. When children are told to suppress emotions, the stress hormone cortisol stays elevated longer. Their nervous system doesn't regulate, and over time, they struggle to understand their own feelings, which makes everything harder. School, friendships, everything. What to say instead? Just 2 words. I see. I see you're really upset right now. That's it. You're not agreeing with the behavior, you're acknowledging the human behind it. Now, I want to tell you about a little boy named, let's call him Zaid. Zaid was 7 years old when his mother first brought me to me. She said he explodes over nothing. This morning, he screamed for 20 minutes because his toast was cut in squares, not triangles. And I want you to notice something. She said he exploded over nothing. But when I sat with Zaid,
When I got quiet and I listened, I found out that the week before, his grandmother had passed away, and nobody had talked to him about it. Not really. The adults around him were grieving too, so they'd said what adults say. She's in a better place. Be brave. That toast wasn't about toast. That explosion was every feeling he had nowhere to put. When children cannot name what they feel, they act it out every single time. Which brings me to thing number 2. Thing number 2. I would never use "because I said so" as a reason. I know this one might sting a little, because I think every parent on earth has said this at least once, maybe today. Here's the problem. Children, especially between the ages of 4 and 12, are in a critical window of developing what psychologists call autonomous motivation. In simple language, that means they are learning to do things because they understand why, not just because someone told them to. When the only reason is "because I said so," children don't develop that inner understanding. They either comply out of fear, which stops working the moment you're not in the room, or they rebel because their brain is literally wired to push back against things that feel arbitrary. Now, I'm not saying explain yourself for 45 minutes every time you ask them to put their shoes on. I'm saying give them a real reason, even a small one. Not "because I said so," but "we need to leave now so we're not late and your teacher doesn't have to stop class for us." That one sentence tells your child, I respect your brain enough to give it something real. And here's the part I want you to really hold on to, because this next thing I'm about to say might be the most important thing in this entire video. Stay with me, because in about 2 minutes, I'm going to give you a 3-step formula you can actually use tonight. But first, thing number 3. Thing number 3. I would never compare my child to another child. Ever. Why can't you be more like your sister? Look how well your cousin listens. Even your little brother can do this. I want you to say this with me. Say it out loud, even in a whisper. Comparison is not motivation. Comparison is shame. Say it again, because this one needs to land. Comparison is not motivation. Comparison is shame. Here's what the research shows us. When children are compared to siblings or peers, the brain doesn't respond with, "let me try harder." The brain responds with, "I am not enough." And a child who believes they are not enough doesn't rise to the challenge. They shrink from it. They stop trying, because why try when the bar is always someone else? The child you are comparing them to, that child is also suffering, because now they carry the weight of being the good one. No child wins in that moment. No one. Thing number 4. I would never punish a child for a behavior I haven't taught them to replace. This one is huge, and almost nobody talks about it. When your child hits their sibling and you send them to their room, what did they learn? They learned that hitting has a consequence, but did they learn what to do with that surge of anger that made them hit in the first place? Think about it this way. Imagine you were in a foreign country. You're hungry. You walk into a restaurant, and everyone around you speaks a language you don't know. You try to communicate, you get frustrated, you do the only thing you can think of. Maybe you gesture, maybe you raise your voice, maybe you grab something off someone else's plate. And then someone grabs your arm and puts you in a corner. You weren't bad. You were lost. Your child, in moments of big emotion, is that person in the foreign restaurant. They don't have the language yet, and punishment without teaching the language just leaves them more lost and more likely to do the same thing again. What they need is someone to sit down, pull up a chair, and say, "Let me teach you the words." Thing number 5. I would never be present in body, but absent in attention. This is the quiet one. The one nobody wants to admit. You're sitting on the couch. Your child is playing in front of you. You're on your phone, scrolling, messaging, maybe watching something. And when they say, "Mama, watch," or "Baba, look," you say, I'm watching," without looking up. Here's what your child's brain registers in that moment. Not, "my parent is tired and needs a break," But whatever's on that screen is more important than me. Children don't understand adult exhaustion. They understand attention. And 10 minutes of real, phone down, eyes on you attention does more for a child's emotional security than 2 hours of being in the same room. You don't need more time. You need more presence in the time you have. Okay, I promised you a formula, and here it is. I call it the S.E.E. method. 3 steps, simple enough to remember in your most exhausted moment. S. Stop before you speak. When your child does something that triggers you, before the words come out, pause. Take one breath, just one. This is not about being perfect. This is about creating a half-second gap between your trigger and your response. In that half second, you are not a reactive parent. You are a choosing parent. Science calls this the name it to tame it approach. Your brain's prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, needs just a moment to catch up with your emotional brain. One breath gives it that moment. Practice it tonight. Next time something happens, try to catch yourself before the automatic response comes. Even if you only succeed once, celebrate that once. It matters. E. Empathize before you educate. Before you correct the behavior, acknowledge the feeling behind it. Not, you shouldn't have hit your brother, but I can see that you were really angry, weren't you? I can see that. And in our family, we don't hit. So let's talk about what we do instead. You are not excusing the behavior. You are reaching the child before you try to teach the child. And a child who feels heard is a child who can actually listen. This is the step most parents skip because we're focused on fixing the behavior. But behavior is the smoke. The feeling is the fire. Empathize first, every time. E. Engage them in the solution. This is the one that transforms everything. Instead of telling your child what they should have done, ask them, what do you think you could do next time when you feel that angry? I know what you're thinking. They're 6. They won't know. But try it. You will be stunned by what children know when we actually ask them. And when the solution comes from them, even partly, they are 10 times more likely to use it because it's theirs. You didn't hand it to them. They built it. S. Stop before you speak. E. Empathize before you educate. E. Engage them in the solution. S.E.E. your child. That's all it is. See them. Now, before you go, I need to tell you something. Everything we talked about today, the 5 things, the S.E.E. method, the science behind it, this is the foundation. But there is one situation that breaks all of this. One specific moment that even the most informed, most patient parents get completely wrong. And I'm going to cover it in my next video. It's about what to do when your child shuts down completely, goes silent, withdraws, refuses to talk. Most parents make a mistake in that moment that pushes their child further away. I'll tell you exactly what that mistake is and what to do instead. So make sure you subscribe right now so you don't miss it. Hit the bell because that video may be the most important one I make. And before you go, I have one question for you. Just one. Which of these 5 things hit closest to home for you today? Write it in the comments, number 1 through 5, or just describe the moment. I read every comment. I want to know your story because your story matters, and there is another parent out there reading these comments right now who needs to know they are not alone. If this video helped you even a little, please share it with one parent who needs it. Not because I need the views, but because there are children out there whose lives will be different because their parent watched this today. And one last thing. Tonight, before bed, I want you to go to your child. Put your phone down, sit next to them, and for no reason at all, pull them close. Because that child chose you. Out of every parent in the world, they are yours. And you showing up here today, trying to be better, wanting to understand them more, that makes you exactly the parent they need. Give your child an extra hug today. I'll see you in the next one.